Welcome to A New View this week. We are Restored Ministries and we're going to be talking about rest.
Yay! I'm all like, is it nap time yet?
Steph likes her naps.
I am Napzilla. I'm getting better.
And I am one, I cannot nap unless I am just super like something is wrong. And twice this last week, I had to stop, shut things down, and take a nap. I responded because normally I feel real guilty about taking a nap. And I know Kim has some great nuggets for that. But I started really thinking about rest is our weapon.
That's right.
It is a weapon. And there's a great quote by Graham Cook that I wanted to share. Cookie always has some great quotes. And he says, rest is a weapon. It's a sword in your hand that puts anxiety, worry, and fear to death. And that's by Graham Cook. And I think I have a teaching tape too, is rest is a weapon or something like that. But really that is true, that if we get depleted and we're not resting, we're not effective against what comes against us. So we really need to look at rest as a weapon.
I agree. I think when we get tired, physically tired or emotionally tired, or you just feel worn down, I think we tend to feel more discouraged.
Right.
We're obviously tired. Situations that we might be running into might make us feel hopeless, where if we were rested and taking better care of ourselves, we wouldn't necessarily have such a strong feeling of hopelessness or like, is this ever going to get better? And we feel more fatigued if we don't rest, and not just physical rest. Like, I know we all are real aware of like how important that is too, but just allowing yourself to rest, like resting your mind and being still even in the presence of the Lord. I know when we started talking about this episode that we were going to do it, I started to feel convicted about resting, in the sense of when just like you said, when we talk about resting, I'm thinking of my nap. And I'm thinking of, chilling and having a drink, like some coffee or whatever while I'm watching some Netflix or something where my mind is just freely chilling. But I felt convicted in the sense of like, when God's called us to rest, if you think of the Sabbath, He's called us to rest and spend time with Him or focus on Him. And so I felt convicted by that. And I'll share some of that in a little bit. But I just definitely felt like, okay, my rest needs to look a little bit different. Napzilla needs to open the Bible more. I'm kidding. No. But you know what I mean. I just a sweet conviction of like, hey, what does rest for you really look like? And I think for all of us, it might look a little different. So
I think too, well, that was going to be more my list for creativity. I feel like, because for me, rest is finding something that I enjoy doing. We're all running the race. We all have things we have to do. Yeah. But it's taking that it almost is a little mental break. It doesn't mean you check out or nap or just, space out, but there's something else, you switch gears.
Yeah. So that's why as women and mamas, because I know you watching probably really relate to this, why do we feel guilty for resting? What is that?
Yeah, it seems like we have to have our calendars full. We have to do everything, and I'm real guilty about that. I'm better at like managing my time and not putting so much on my calendar. And I would say that I do rest as far as like I will like go worship music or kind of soak or things like that. But I have a hard time of physically resting, like when God says, and I mean He'll be like, I think you need to rest, I need to rest. Then I feel like, oh, I'm such a slacker if I go try and take a nap. Or, something is again, I guess that guilt. So we want to take the guilt out of rest.
I think it goes back to the literal beginning of time. God made everything and then rested. So we have to get everything done before we can possibly rest without guilt.
That is good. That is really, really good.
And it's really wrong.
Yes.
It's really wrong.
Those dishes can wait in the sink. I recently had a conversation with my sister. She was feeling depleted and she was like, I don't know, I'm feeling a little wonky, and I said, I had to take a nap. And she's all like, oh, you had to take a nap? Like, she loves her naps and I don't. And I said, yeah, twice this week, we're talking about rest on the show. And so when I told her that, and I said, and I want you to go home, and I said, I want you not to clean the house or do the dishes or do anything, but I want you just to rest. Yeah. And it's hard for us to do that, to stop what we're doing.
Giving someone the gift of rest, you're telling her it's okay. There is no guilt. Yeah. You're absolved of all guilt in it. That's a gift.
You brought up about, God creating everything and then taking a rest. And so that reminds me of what we've read before in the Bible about the Sabbath. And different people interpret it different ways. I don't really want to get into that today, but I read this blog that talked about very much about the Sabbath and why God created it. And we know that God created us to need rest, right? Like we literally, you can look at stuff from a health standpoint, or research will back this up. Like you have to sleep. Like in order to function, you have to sleep.
A good quality, time.
Yes, on top of that, absolutely. And so the way God created us to need rest as well is for us to focus on Him, spend some time focusing on Him. And I think of like Sunday, I want to spend time going to church and that's part of our Sunday thing, but that can't just be it. That's not, that's not the only time I need to focus on God and have some rest time. And so I read part of this blog that was really good, and I just wanted to read this briefly. It's by John Piper, and he says that he believes that God is saying with the Sabbath that let my highest creature, the one in my image, stop every 7 days and commemorate with me the fact that I am the creator who has done all this. Let him stop working and focus on me, that I am the source of all that he has. I am the fountain of blessing, and I have made the very hands and mind with which he works. Let 1 day out of 7, which I read that as, it doesn't have to be Sunday.
Right.
It's one day.
Right.
So middle of the week, beginning of the week, demonstrate that all land and all animals and all raw materials and breath and strength, it gets a little long in that, come from God. Let man look to me in leisure 1 day out of 7 for the blessing that is so elusive in the affairs of this world. I love that. Like just finding your own, asking God, how can I do that? How can I honor you with some rest? And what does that look like?
Right. And that's really, Psalm 62:5 says, find rest, O my soul, in God alone. And I know a lot of times for me, if I'm really going and I'm just like, I've got to unplug, I've got to give social media a break, I've got to stop doing administrative stuff, working, house things, whatever it is. And a lot of times I think soaking helps me do that because I'm resting in God alone, or I'm listening to a teaching on YouTube and I can find myself really relaxing because I've stopped and I've really said, okay, Lord, speak to me through whatever this song, whatever this teaching, even nature. I mean, like going out and just taking a walk is restful sometimes.
Yes.
Just to be able to, just to get grounded.
Yeah. I had this little image while you were, as you got into that you were refueling, and we all refuel in different ways. But think about when you take your car and you go to get fuel, the first thing you do is turn it off. You've got to stop the progress of whichever direction you're headed right now. Just hold that, pause, and refuel.
That's really good. And so, instead of looking at rest as a 4-letter word, bad word, rest is a good thing.
It's a good thing. And it's not only in reward, it's not only after you've created Kingdom Come, it's not only after you've done every dish in the house. And real quickly, not having guilt over it. As long as you can clearly differentiate between rest and laziness, there's no reason for guilt.
Right, because some people have no problem resting because they're trying to check out of life. So there has to be a balance.
Yes.
There has to be a balance. Some people can nap all day long because they just want to check out of life.
Yeah.
That's good. Go ahead.
Is it real rest?
That's true.
And then some people think that rest is failure, and I think that's where, if you believe that and you're doing it and you're sinking in it, that's when you can check out of life. So not looking at it as failure. If you build it into your plans, you build that rest period in, you see that it's a part of what makes your whole system work.
Right.
And then it's part of your success and not your failure. Which brings me to Dean, I'm probably going to say this last name wrong, Karnazes wrote 6 reasons why rest days are important, and he took this from the perspective of a runner. So somebody who's preparing for a marathon, half marathon, whatever, is going to plan rest into their schedule, and they require it.
Yes.
They would completely fail physically, mentally, and everything otherwise.
That's right.
But I love this because it's us running the rat race of life. It's not necessarily just for physically running a physical race. So the 6 reasons are to prevent injury. And if you think about this, no matter what tasks you have going on in life, whatever you're running, whatever you're doing, if you just kept on that alone, things are going to go ugly. It's going to go one way or another.
Exactly.
Muscles needing rest. We talk all the time about, whatever it is you're doing, prayer muscle, like you're flexing your muscles, whatever it is, it's going to need a rest. It's going to do better tomorrow after your day of rest. It's going to be
recovery time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone has a concern that, especially depending on what your tasks are that you're working on, or your goal that you're working toward, if you were to take that day off, you're going to cause your performance to dip, cause your productivity to drop back. I like to liken this to the big debate of how many breaks do you give kids at school when they don't get recess.
Right.
Their mind is not in what they're doing. When they get
Exactly.
that extra recess, they're more focused when they're actually working. So rest is huge.
That's true.
Overtraining affects sleep. That's my favorite thing, because how many times, not even running a race, but laying in bed playing what you did or didn't do that day,
Right.
and what you have to
Yes.
do the next day, and it's like, yeah,
That's
if
not
you-
rest.
No, that's just your reasoning, worrying. Oh, that, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
horrible. Also the immune system needing downtime. So on a
Right.
cellular level, there's all kinds of junk going on that we're not even conscious of on a day-to-day
Right.
basis. And your body is amazing. It's a miracle. It's working on fixing these things and fighting things that needs to be fighting. Every one of you right now, you're fighting and you're repairing right now.
That's right. Twice in 1 week. I did. I mean, yeah. I was
Giving
good.
that rest allows the immune system time to catch up with everything that's going on. We need it.
Yes.
And then this one I love too is mental edge. From a psychological standpoint, Dean writes that taking a rest period can rekindle your hunger for exercise and help prevent burnout. And why I love that is, take out the word exercise and say to yourself, taking a rest period can rekindle my hunger for whatever it is I have to be doing
Yes.
and help
Yes.
prevent burnout.
Yes.
Exactly.
For
That's good
mamas,
stuff.
help your hunger for being, a present mom,
Right.
present parent,
Wife,
yes.
partner,
Yes.
ministry, friend, sister, whatever it is,
That's good. Those are really
Whether-
good.
That's really good. And and so I was thinking too, because some people think that, the physical rest, being able to sleep really sound and things like that. And I know, as a woman going through the big menopause a couple of times, surgically induced, 17 years ago, and then coming back around to it, later in life again, that's really hard to rest and
Yeah.
sleep. And so I love that, that we can do things to we may not be fully asleep, but we can still rest and recharge.
Yes.
And that's a thing, because I know over the years, a lot of times if I'm unable to sleep, either my adrenals are getting a little, too much coffee or things like that, I can use that time as prayer. Or now I'm more open to, like, if I am up, then I'm like, okay, God's having me intercede for somebody.
Yeah.
There's a thing, but he's so great because he supernaturally replaces any lost sleep time with that supernatural rest. So I think of Matthew 11:28, the verse for that. And it says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." So if we're burdened and if we're weary, we need to go to God. We need that rest. Rest is a good thing.
It is a good thing.
A very good thing. Well, we hope that you will carve out some time to rest. And again, have rest in God. What does that look like? It could definitely mean reading a verse, reading a book, listening to a song, getting out in nature, or simply just sitting down and just looking at your surroundings, admiring your family, admiring nature, admiring creation.
Savoring the beauty,
Yes.
of what he's created, where he's placed you, and thinking about resting in his faithfulness, resting in his
Exactly.
promises, and all the stuff
Exactly.
that we always are talking about, but resting in it and
And
enjoying
if you
it.
need that physical rest, take that nap. It's okay.
Guilt
And
free.
don't feel guilty. Exactly. Have a great day.